In 1935, a mysterious ghost was seen in the Cartwright family's home every Christmas Eve. The ghostly figure appeared near the Christmas tree, sending shivers down the family's spine and puzzling the entire village. But after a deep investigation, the truth behind the haunting was revealed in the most unexpected way. Was it really a ghost? Or was there something more scientific at play? In the quiet, rural village of Ashton, nestled deep within the rolling hills of England, there was a house that had stood for centuries. This house, known to the villagers as the Winterbourne estate, had witnessed many stories over the years. But in the winter of 1935, the estate became the center of an eerie tale that would chill the bones of all who heard it, a tale that seemed to defy logic and reason, only to be explained in the most unexpected of ways. It all began on Christmas Eve, a time of warmth and joy, when families gathered together to celebrate the holiday season. For the Cartwright family, Christmas was a time of tradition. Every year, they would decorate their large, stone manor house, hang stockings by the chimney, and gather around the grand fireplace to share stories and exchange gifts. The holiday spirit was always alive in their home, filling the halls with laughter and love. But this year, something was different. The Cartwrights were a family of four: Edward, the father, a successful businessman who had grown up in the village, his wife, Eleanor, who came from a long line of English aristocrats, and their two children, Catherine and James. On Christmas Eve, they sat around the fire, admiring the grand Christmas tree that stood proudly in the corner of the living room. It was a towering tree, decorated with twinkling lights, shimmering tinsel, and delicate glass baubles. Beneath it, a collection of gifts lay waiting to be unwrapped. However, as they sat in the glow of the fire, an unsettling feeling began to creep over them. It started with a soft rustling sound, like something brushing against the tree. At first, they thought it was the wind, but as the noise grew louder, they turned their attention toward the source. There, standing by the tree, was a figure, a faint, shadowy shape, its form indistinct yet undeniably there. The figure seemed to float in the air, its movement slow and deliberate. The Cartwrights froze, their eyes fixed on the apparition. It was a translucent figure, not quite solid, but enough to send a chill down their spines. "Is that?" Eleanor's voice trembled as she looked at her husband. "Is that a ghost?" Edward, normally a man of logic and reason, was at a loss for words. His heart raced as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The figure appeared to hover near the Christmas tree, its presence like a haunting shadow that seemed to bend and sway in the dim light. Suddenly, the figure vanished, as quickly as it had appeared, leaving the Cartwrights in stunned silence. The room felt colder, the fire no longer offering its usual warmth. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Edward broke the silence. "It must have been a trick of the light," he said, though his voice lacked conviction. "There's no such thing as ghosts." But deep down, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. For the rest of the night, the family tried to dismiss what they had seen, telling themselves it was just a figment of their imagination, perhaps caused by the flickering light of the fire or a trick of the shadows. But as the days passed, the strange occurrences continued. Every night, the same figure would appear near the tree. It didn't matter how many times they moved the tree, adjusted the lighting, or tried to close the curtains, the ghostly figure always returned. The family became increasingly disturbed by the nightly visitations. Catherine and James, who had once looked forward to the excitement of Christmas, now found themselves dreading the approach of nightfall. The figure seemed to appear at the same time each evening, around midnight, when the house was quiet and the only sounds were the crackling of the fire and the occasional gust of wind outside. It was as if the apparition was waiting for the stillness of the night to make its presence known. One night, after weeks of strange sightings, Edward decided to take action. He was a man of science, a man who believed in reason above all else. He was determined to find an explanation for the strange happenings in his home. Armed with a flashlight and a notebook, he set out to investigate the source of the haunting. Edward began by examining the Christmas tree. He carefully inspected the ornaments, the tinsel, and the lights. He checked the tree for any signs of unusual movement, looking for anything that could explain the flickering shadows. But everything appeared normal. Next, he turned his attention to the surrounding area. He checked the windows, the curtains, and the walls, looking for any reflective surfaces that might be casting strange shadows. That's when he noticed something odd, a large, antique mirror that hung on the wall opposite the tree. The mirror had been in the family for generations, a prized heirloom passed down from Eleanor's ancestors. It was an ornate piece, framed in gold and decorated with intricate carvings. Edward had never thought much about it before, but now, something about it caught his attention. The mirror's surface was cracked, a jagged line running down its middle. It was an imperfection that had been there for years, but Edward had never given it a second thought. He reached up to inspect it more closely, and as he did, he felt a strange sense of unease. The way the light from the fire reflected off the cracked surface created an eerie effect, distorting the reflection and causing strange, shifting shadows to dance across the room. That's when it hit him. The figure they had been seeing near the tree was not a ghost at all. It was a reflection. The broken mirror, coupled with the flickering firelight, had created an optical illusion, a distorted reflection that made it appear as though there was a ghostly figure standing near the tree. Edward's heart sank as he realized the truth. The ghost was not supernatural, but the result of the mirror's imperfections and the interplay of light and shadow. He called Eleanor over to see what he had discovered, and together they marveled at the eerie effect created by the mirror. The following night, when the family gathered around the tree, they made sure to block the mirror's reflection. They pulled the curtains tightly shut, dimmed the lights, and set up a lamp in a different position to eliminate any shadows. For the first time in weeks, the figure did not appear. The haunting presence was gone. Though the mystery of the ghost had been solved, the Cartwrights couldn't shake the eerie feeling that lingered in the house long after the holiday season had passed. The mirror, once a cherished heirloom, was moved to a less prominent place in the house, and the family was able to enjoy many more Christmases without the fear of an apparition haunting their holiday celebrations. Over the years, the story of the ghost in the Christmas house became a legend in the village. It was passed down through the generations, a tale that blended the ordinary with the extraordinary. The villagers would often gather around the fire on Christmas Eve and tell the story of the Cartwright family's mysterious Christmas ghost, wondering if there might still be some truth to the tale. But for the Cartwrights, the mystery had been solved, and the holiday season was once again a time of joy and celebration. And while the ghostly figure no longer haunted their home, they could never forget the strange events of that Christmas, when a broken mirror had caused them to believe in something far more eerie than they had ever imagined.